Hi everyone, I'm so very excited. This is, I'm gonna move out of the way, the projector for a second. This is DAG number, oh, let's see here. It's DAG number 4. Very excited to be here with all of you. This is our agenda for the evening. So we're gonna have a few exercises that are basically about our project, about other projects. We really want to end this sort of school year of DAGs on a really creative and imagination filled kind of note. So first, I'd like to go in and read out the land acknowledgement that we read out at every DAG meeting, which is the PPS land acknowledgement and anti-aggression statement. At PPS, we strive to strengthen our relationships with the Native community and Native nations. A symbol of this commitment is a land acknowledgement. These statements bring visibility to the first people of our collective home. This statement is meant to provide information and context while also encouraging all of us to reflect on our current day relationships with Native people and Native experiences. We acknowledge that we live, work, and play on the traditional lands of the Chinook, Clackamas, Kalapuya, Multnomah, Wasco, Paklamath, Tualatin, and Molalla. We also know that many of the tribes made their homes along the Columbia and Willamette rivers. We honor their history and acknowledge the sacrifices they made. Let us also acknowledge the robust present day federally recognized tribes, the Grand Moms, Siletz, and Cowlitz. In addition, I would like to acknowledge the Chinook Nation, who has been seeking federal recognition for many years. The urban Indian community is made up of tribal diversity that originates from around the country, representing 400 tribes. The urban Indian community has a vivid history made up of people whose journeys have brought them to Portland by ways of forced displacement or seeking more opportunities. Today, these tribes and communities celebrate the heritage, showing resilience and tenacity that was greatly admired by their ancestors. Within Portland Public Schools today, we serve students and families representing more than 150 different tribal nations within our education system. It is our obligation to teach accurate information, past and present, about the impact of colonization on our students, all students today, and make visible the multitude of Native families and many diverse ways Native communities and families are living in the present. We encourage every person to reflect on their own history, understand the history of colonization and genocide, and support Indigenous sovereignty, priorities, and actions. This acknowledgement is one step we can take to improve our support of Indigenous communities in the area. In addition to acknowledging the land and those that have been here since time began, we must also remember our stolen siblings from Africa, whose labor built a vast wealth of this country. These two communities and the atrocities committed against them are intrinsically intertwined due to our existence within white supremacist world. Everything we have is due to stolen land and stolen labor, and every system and institution that impacts our lives is built upon this legacy. It is our job to speak that truth into spaces so that we can begin to be. It's a really good lesson. I didn't start off by saying hello. My name is Chandra. I'm a principal at Lever Architecture, and it's my pleasure to sort of do all of the presenting today. I did want to give you an update about today, that this is the last official design advisory group meeting before the fall. So we kind of take a summer break. So like I said, we want to end this note on really using our imaginations to think about culture and identity. So we're going to go through a few exercises. But I also did want to share that after we do these exercises around the JEF project, we're also going to have a few exercises that will be around the Tubman project. So if you're interested in that, and I know you are, please stay after and we can talk about Tubman. So what we're going to talk about today is where we've been getting feedback on the design, and then also kind of imagining the new Jefferson High School. So where is the design team getting feedback? These are all of the places. I'm going to sit down. No, that's okay. I'll just sit here and sit up tall so you can see me. So There have been lots of groups of us who've been talking to community members, different communities in different ways. So there have been these design advisory group meetings. There have been open houses where you've seen lots more people come in. We've had surveys going out to folks. We've also had CDOs, which are community design organizers. And those are folks from the community who've been going out into their smaller communities, right? We're all many communities made up that make up this big Jeff community. So they've been going out to all of the folks they know and having dinners and hosting meetings and getting lots of feedback from them and been bringing it back to us. So Co-Locate has been bringing all of that information together in the form of different reports in ways that we can use that in the design. And we've also had those CEOs create curriculum and teach classes with the Jeff students to kind of get information from them about what they would like to see in the new school and how they feel about the spaces in it. So what you'll see all around you right now are is artifacts from those classes that were held. So these are all about design. There are things where, you know, a photography teacher had this really cool idea to have students actually stand up on the Jefferson podium where the statue is no longer and sort of show themselves in this position of power in the school, which is really beautiful. So you'll see that all the way around the room. Off to the side over here, you'll actually see a bunch of collages that the students were doing. And this was asking questions. It was a response to a question about like, what is your vision for the new Jeff, right? So out on the table behind you, there are a bunch more different materials that were made by students. So there's all of these groups of people and communities of different sizes who are coming together to give us this feedback in all of these ways that you see here on the screen. So what's the feedback that we got? I'm going to show a little bit of it to you in this slide deck, and you're going to see a little bit out on the tables, but there's obviously a lot more that we've gotten from folks that are right now living in these reports that are still in draft. But there's more obviously than what you see right here on the screen. So in the first DAG, these are some images of the posters that we had up, feedback that we got from all of you that were on Post-its. And we sort of gathered those up together to figure out what are all the things that people were talking about, what comments were in common. And some of those things you'll see on here highlighted about the main entry being on the north side, is safer, making room for additional sports fields. As you recall, in the beginning, we didn't have as many fields. There wasn't as much space on the site that was dedicated to fields. And we've increased that, understanding that that was really important. That you wanted to pay homage to the past, but still move forward and have the building look new. Increasing accessibility and being warm and welcoming. In DAG 2, we kind of looked at interiors in the heart of the building and envisioning what that could look like. In all of these boards, we also looked at the site. And what we heard from you was that it shouldn't feel like another school. It should be very specifically Jeff and very individual. Need some private space in addition to public spaces. Wanted to bring the outdoors in. And you really liked the exterior 1909. Maybe having that be exposed on the inside if possible. And having multiple spaces for students to gather, not just one large space for everyone to be in, but lots of different sizes. And then have ways to connect the new buildings. In number 3, we talked about some different ideas about the exterior. You'll remember there was sort of a dark band on the top of one of the options and not on the other. And we also looked at the site and the feelings of kind of that north entry and those little sort of gathering spaces that we created around the entry and that space that we open up by taking out the big stair. And so what we heard in there was that the dark option really related nicely to the 1909 in a way that people really liked. The scale of the new building didn't feel as big, which was good because it could seem like a really large building compared to the width of the 1909. And having accessibility was looking great. And then there were concerns about artificial turf, safety and health of students who are running around on that, and kind of thinking again about what activities might happen in the entry process. So we also have heard a lot from those community design organizers, and the feedback that we've gotten from them is not through Co-Locate, who are our community engagement partners, and all of these things, ideas about trust, about identity, culture, and belonging, about safety, security, and wellness, about access, about flexibility and change, resources that the school should provide, delight, which is a great one, places that are joyful and places for people to find wonder and inspiration inside and outside the school, and also embracing the outdoors, which is really important to them. So these are all themes that again are in one of those reports that I was talking about. I'm going to want to focus on identity, culture, and belonging. So I'm just going to read out sort of the narrative idea of identity, culture, and belonging from here. The responses highlight Jeff as a cultural institution for Black and Brown communities and the need to make it a welcoming, resourceful, and empowering space for diverse, racial, ethnic, and other affinity groups. They also reflected the strength communities find in interaction and collective support among these different communities. So it's really about community gathering together, finding support in one another. That is kind of the key part of the narrative of identity, culture, and belonging that we're going to come back to. So you'll see here just in that identity, culture, and belonging, this is a lot of text you don't have to read, but there are all these sort of sub-themes within that identity, culture, and belonging. There's lots of very specific ideas that came up about community storytelling and histories, about empowering marginalized groups, about not Anglo-centric design, and about addressing language barriers, language differences, that those are represented in the school. Neighborhood identity is something I'd really like to come back to. And then representation of the culture and the folks who are here. Identity, culture, and belonging. So now I pointed out a few things here that are in the student work, but I want to zoom in on just a couple of them and you'll see sort of the originals out there for scans of the originals. Students did this work, they did collages. And those collages, like I said, are on those boards. And the question was, what's your vision for the new Jefferson High School? You know, they could describe a vibe, or they could be really specific about one kind of space they wanted to see. There was also sort of more of a survey, which was, what's a feature of the redesign that you're excited about? A lot of what students actually said about that was they were excited about an elevator that worked. They were excited about furnaces that didn't bang and make sounds that were distracting in class. All those things that are just like really basic, right? That's what they were excited about, not necessarily envisioning sort of a new, anything exciting in school, right? So that's why it was important to say, what's your vision of the new Jefferson High School? So you really kind of think outside of that, like consider what's wrong with it. What do you want? And then there were also some photo maps. They did some Polaroids all around the school and said, you know, here's a photo of might be a place that I really love or a place I don't love, but then they added some words to that to help us understand what about that space was really special. So in the collages where they were asked about a vision of the new Jefferson, these are some of those that you'll see on that on the board over there, and I'll give you a little bit of time to look at all those a little bit more closely. But these were the sort of themes that came out of it. Green space was important. They wanted to see things about success and about movement and about life. And Black is beautiful. And they wanted to see representation of people of all colors, about hope, that there's hope for the future, that there's community, and that there's wonder in the natural world. These were all really cool and you can see them. Then here were those Polaroids that they took around school and sort of had you know, thoughts on there about what they liked and didn't like. Some of them made poems, some didn't. But lack of creativity is blooming because the places that they loved the best were places where there was art on the walls, that there was representation of the students within the school. They liked classroom doors to always be open so that they felt they could go into a space and have some kind of refuge and community inside that classroom. They wanted things to be made to last so that they felt like they were in a place where, you know, we had invested in them. They wanted to see art displayed in a way that made it feel as important as it really is, because right now there's not space for display cases as much in school, right? So a lot of the things you see up there are put up with blue tape in a really careful way, but they wanted to see more attention paid to that. Like, how do we always hang art in a really respectful and careful way? And you can change that art out all the time. So these are all things that that students were really excited about. And they thought that something uniquely Jefferson was just seeing photos of all of the principals from the past. I thought that was really nice. They recognized that that was something about the history of the school that they really appreciated. So before we get into all this cool stuff right here, see, I want to give you like 10 minutes to walk around and look at all the things that the students have been creating, because I want you to have that in mind when we go into our sort of these next exercises about Jack. Let's see, what it is 5:45. So at 5:55, I'll just give you a holler when it's time to come back, but you'll see all the columns there. And then on all of these tables laid out, there's a lot of different kinds of work. Just take a look, see what's out there, see what interests you. You can write down notes, you don't really have to, and then we'll all come back together and talk.
Do you know what happened at Mr. Damon's hearing? We didn't go either. I just didn't know until.
Oh, I heard some of my sister's friends.
I'll let you know if I find out anything.
Well, thank you.
Are you gonna hang out here for a little bit?
Yeah, I just missed your part in this meeting, so my bus left at 4:20. Anyway, for driver change and ended up 45 minutes late.
Well, I'm glad you're here. I was gonna talk to her because there's like no mention of dance, anything, and I'm like,
No.
what?
Well,
So confused.
Steve has been advocating for dance studios, so it's actually kind of a good thing. It's sort of a done deal. Steve has basically said, here's what we want. They're giving it to him.
Nothing to better though. Like,
Go away.
you already don't know where they're gonna go. So I'd like them to explain. There you go.
Huh.
They're talking about like
Yeah.
person can culture at Jefferson and stuff. There's no.
But I guess it's not.
Not sure. It's like
Right.
all.
I mean, that's fine now.
Another thing to have.
Totally fine.
What?
Oh, they're
Taking it away. How is that even? How is that even?
Well, they don't want to pay for jobs. You're downloading one job. And they're just like. So
They're not gonna
just cut it. Well, their reasoning was it doesn't give as many skills as the traditional dances, simply because there are so many like different sub dances of him. It's a hot ass mess.
Found something. Not.
I mean, there was talk of moving to school, but.
Yeah.
Well, me too.
There's one thing. Or see. Yeah. See, they use it. Oh.
This is great.
Probably a reference to what they think of it. Yes. Yeah. Whereas. Where would it be? There is. Yes. I mean, that's like. Yeah.
Two minutes and 15 seconds. People are looking around. I was like, I heard it, but I couldn't get that. Yeah. That's a moving parts. Yeah. When you're done having a look, just make your way back and we'll start in on some fun exercises. A cool exercise. Yeah. I think I'm But I didn't see. There you go. Right. Okay, so now we're gonna go over, we're gonna do a couple of exercises. Hope you find these images inspiring and exciting. I do, and I dress in the same colors to match them today, so I think they're real cool. But so what are we gonna do now? Like I said earlier, this is the last day for the summer, and we're gonna take a break. And then come back in the fall and continue our discussions. But what I really wanted to stop and think about was identity and culture. Thinking about these obviously is one of the most important things that we're going to do here at JAG. What we've shown so far, if you remember in that last DAG where I showed you kind of these images of drawing a face and how there were many steps to it, and we're kind of at the spot where we know the shape of the head, there's eyes and a nose and a mouth, but those things can move a little. We don't really know what that person looks like. That's where we are right now. We want to know what the school really should be looking like inside and out. And that's really important for us to then talk about identity and culture. So I want to just ask a few questions of folks. I think I have like 5 questions in here. And I want you to just stop and think about them and then share your thoughts. We do also have some paper out on the table we can pass around. So if you don't feel like talking out loud and sharing your thoughts, totally cool. Just write it down. We'll add it in here. But anything that you want to share, we're gonna go ahead and write on this big piece of paper back here so that we can take that and over the summer, we can be thinking about these things that you've shared with us and how to get them in there. Yes, go ahead.
Are you asking us to think of Jefferson based on what we've seen or think of Jefferson as the imagined part? So where are we thinking of Jefferson, the present or the future or in the past?
Great question. So if you didn't all hear that, she asked, where do you want us to be thinking about Jefferson? Is this past or present or future? And the answer is future. So what do you, if you close your eyes and you think about Jefferson, you can think about what it is now or what it was when you went to school, but what do you imagine it being in the future? What are the things in Jeff that you want to be in the future? And it could be anything. It could be physical things. It could be you want it to be warm and happy. It could be a feeling. It could be some physical kind of space. It could be, you want to be ranked #1 in space education in 5 years, whatever it is, right? Just think about it for a minute and then share your thoughts. And if you want to write them down, we'll just passing out some paper and some pens and things like that, so you can just write them down. Hey, Henry, will come up here? So that if we have anything to write down, you can write down on the piece of paper. Oh, Ashley, you're on the right side of the table too. Well. Oh, good. Close in the back. There you go. There you go.
What are you saying on the motion side?
Then they're getting involved. I got some papers going on back there. Just call her out if you have anything you want to share. What do you see when you close your eyes and think of Jeff? Close your eyes, rock back and forth like this woman on the screen. What are the Jeff vibes that you want to see in your building? Sure.
Solar systems and weather analysis is one. And then plants and biodiversity.
The plants and biodiversity, solar systems
And climate.
and climate analysis. Okay, great. And those can be things that students are learning, things that are represented in the school. Yeah, go ahead. Say that again. Dance. Got that over there? Yeah, kind of stuff. Thanks. Anything else about dance?
It's just so Jeff, and I hope the new space feels inclusive and just want to dance, walking.
I
That's
love
what
it.
I feel like, but I want everyone else.
That's great. Yeah, the space feels so good and so inclusive, makes you want to dance when you come in. Dance is so important, Jeff. So Jeff.
Yes.
You can't dance without music.
And you can't dance without moving.
You gotta have full music.
Full music program.
Orchestra, people need to be able to have a school, their best band play at the basketball game, their band at the football game. That's what it helps to build a great spirit.
Yeah, building school spirit, having all of the music programs, getting people excited to be here. Feeling pride in school,
Everybody knows.
and everyone knows the school fun. Yeah. Okay.
State champions.
Yeah.
State champions.
State champions. Jeff, state champions.
Ball, wrestling,
Football, wrestling, yep. Track. Love it.
The champions. School pride.
School champions, school pride. Any other things? Those drives, feedback,
Natural light,
natural light,
light and brightness,
right?
joy, vibrancy.
Joy and vibrancy. I love that. I want to see a lot of them. Yeah,
Not fenced off.
not fenced off. That's great. It's not fenced off from who? From the community, from neighbors, yeah. Yes. There's not a great physical connection on the site right now, right? There is a community connection. People want to be together. But there's a
Rooftop garden.
Rooftop garden. What do you want to grow? Food.
Other cool stuff.
Another good side.
Yeah, experimental gardening.
Yeah, an experimental garden. You know what we were talking about was for another project that was in our school, was growing the kinds of plants that you can make natural dyes from. So you can actually take something and use it in your space. So you can think about that, if there's a curriculum around food or around biodiversity, all those need to be tied back to the garden.
Home remedies.
Home remedies, yeah.
Apothecary.
Yeah, apothecary, I love it, yeah. And you can think about the Indian education program and sort of first foods, things that are medicinal, things that were always used here in Oregon as staples.
Traditional garden.
Food sovereignty, yeah, that's great. Traditional what? Traditional healing, yeah. I love that, food sovereignty, traditional healing.
Media production, TV production.
Media and TV production. Love it. I'm gonna go to the next one. How do you know you're at Jack? So again, it's a close your eyes and think about it. How do you know? You're looking across the street, you're on Alberta, you're looking up, how do you know you're at Jack? You walk in the front doors, what lets you know that you're at Jack?
But
Lit? Love it.
the representation of the walls.
Art representation on the walls, yeah. Yeah. Oh, say it again?
I don't know, we're just go popcorn.
Oh, yeah, popcorn, for sure, yeah, yeah.
I would say the vibe.
The vibe, yeah,
Deputy Ashley, you know, it's all about the vibe.
yeah,
I was gonna say the back to.
yeah. Tell me more. What can we write down about the vibe that you, that needs to be there?
Talk about emotional human frequency somewhere between 500 to 7.
I love that. Emotional human frequency, somewhere around 500 to 700.
I say 5 to a G.
Okay. Emotional human frequency, that's great. What else about the vibe?
Vibes are hidden.
Yeah. So it's not something you see, it's just something you feel.
Oh, right.
School pride, yeah,
We don't see that. You know. See that. It's that.
yeah, absolutely.
Expansiveness mirrors the international feel as opposed to an enclosed
Yeah, an expansiveness.
expansiveness that when you travel abroad, you'll see people who are wearing everything and people are so happy with it.
Yeah,
And here, sometimes you see people wearing everything and people golf,
yeah,
you know, so not having that. And Jefferson has been that way, people don't golf. So you want to have a very expansive feel so that if you stepped in here, you could also step in Washington DC or something like that, and you'd feel like you're right at any of the places.
yeah.
I don't know how to say that in short words.
Yeah, I don't know either, but you said, well, in the international feel and expansiveness. All things people are excited about and accepting of, yeah. Like a boldness that's accepted.
I'm just gonna put it out there, it's dripping with blackness, always have.
Dripping with blackness.
Dripping.
I love it. And that's in some of the student work, right? Yeah, that's what you saw.
That movie. That here,
Yeah.
sometimes you want to go.
Oh.
Gotta have a great an atmosphere so that, you know. You feel like you walking the door. So why did I come here?
Yeah,
Yeah, you want to be rushing to get to it.
yeah,
How do you create that?
yeah. How do we create that feeling of welcome? You're coming somewhere where everyone knows your name, you're excited to go there,
Exactly.
you're glad you came, you're welcome, it's a place you want to be.
And a place that is an elevation, so when you go, you know you're going with your best game as opposed to wearing pajamas this good. I mean, I don't have a problem with it, but you know, I'm just saying, as opposed to feeling like, well, I can just go just as I am, you feel like I am really going someplace exciting and wants to be on top of it.
Yeah, you wanna be on top of it. You go to a place where they're excited to go, they're excited to see you.
Yes.
And you wanna put your best foot forward, you wanna be proud of yourself, and you feel that when you come in.
So keep going out there.
Keep doing it, keep doing it.
It's school pride. This is a healthy tribalism.
Healthy tribalism,
You know.
yeah. Healthy tribalism, I love it.
Yeah, what I say?
Hey.
Right. Here's another one. We all have different cultures, different communities that we're coming from, that are part of the Just community. So how do you see your identity and culture showing up in the building? They're all gonna be different, right? We have kids from lots of different communities and cultures, lots of Latinx kids, lots of indigenous kids, kids who are immigrants from other countries. How do we want folks' identity and culture showing up? I mean, when I was thinking about this question, I was really thinking about, you know, during a lot of rioting that was happening in 2020 and all the way up until now, right? There was a lot of solidarity between cultures, you know? A lot of signs that said like Latinos for Black Lives Matter, you know? Like really care for one another in the communities. So I want to think about like how different folks are showing up and how we're coming together. And this image is particularly, you know, about pride and about LGBTQ plus communities and how, you know, we're all in this school together. So how would you like to see your identity showing up? Is it in, you know, is it in colors? Is it in art? Is it in the language that's spoken? Is it in shapes of spaces, sizes of spaces? Any things you can think of that you would like to see that would represent your. And we'll ask lots of folks, you don't have to say how you want to see everyone else's culture represented, just whatever you're comfortable sharing that you would like to see.
But anyway, I think Jeff needs to always show dominance. But it has to also be reflective of all. And even though Jeff has become historically an African American, I don't like to see the people in 1909, 1940. That's also part. Yes. It has to be something. Yes. Yes. And Native American. So we need that black footprint to be there. We cannot neglect the other folks.
That's great. Need the Black footprint to be there, but we cannot neglect all the other cultures. You want to erase any parts of the history of Jeff, you want to acknowledge. Because 09 to 1940, that was a predominantly white school, right? Yeah, go ahead.
Out there on the right hand. I was gonna say if we put a picture at it, I would say tree. We just need to make sure that it's got like roots. Way back, man, forward, outline, we need to make sure it's roots flat. The branches, the trunk, that's all the whole stretch of the house. Foundation there, no, it's
Black roots, trunk, and leaves and branches, those are all representative of all the cultures that are here, the whole, right? Right. Yeah,
An artistic movement somehow through mobile, whatever, that captures the stereotype that have been so long a part of the nation and pulls them into confusion where everybody is everything. Because that kind of demonstrates how the history of the United States has been of pulling out of the stereotype where we are today as no longer using those stereotypes for identity. So we're pulling ourselves out. In other words, we're pulling ourselves out of stereotypes, but acknowledging that it existed because that's, it did exist.
So it's a physical representation somehow of like the history and how people have always been strong, smart, amazing. And that wasn't being represented, but now here we are going towards the future where the truth is being represented. The truth of students such as today.
So that we don't then have to represent people stereotypically today because it's not appropriate.
And example that there was important that he was watching TV and the news, and this was before the pandemic. The news was some gunshots on the high school. When they flashed on the screen, they were showing Jefferson. But that's not where the gunshots were. And so there's been a lot of misrepresentation of the especially black community. Especially since talking, really they view as racist. We had lawyers,
We've always
doctors, business owners, well as government, and but the community is paid to be full of drugs and destruction.
right.
And
And many of it.
telling the story.
Yeah.
Not the people who live, the people that.
That's both.
Yeah, so stories told by the people who are here and know the truth. True representations of all the amazing people and places in the community and the product that everyone has. And
Think of like maybe in a more distant future, there was like a state of being where inclusivity and equitable representation is a reality, but maybe more so in the near future. The values behind organizing and activism around social justice, I think is really important. Engaging young people in, civic engagement and inspiring young people to organize their communities and fight for their culture. To realize one day more equitably represented reality.
yeah, a place that empowers the students to take action. Yeah. Up to the next one. Maybe the last one. So the last two are kind of physical representation ideas. So in that last meeting, I shared with you a couple of images of like, here's a building that is very much representative of its culture. So here is one of those where you see in the brickwork, you see all those patterns, right? Just think about all the things that we've been talking about, things students are representing, things that we're thinking about. What is Jeff identity? How do you want to see that represented on the exterior and on in the interior, right? So imagine like full saturation of these ideas about culture, all these different cultures, right? It's not just one, so it's not just going to be like the whole school looks the same. But if you have any thoughts on, how much you want to be able to recognize that on the exterior, the interior, I don't know, say like scale of 1 to 10 or something. What, like how the building could be very bold and very bright. And we'll this isn't the only time we're gonna ask this, right? We'll have some ideas about the exterior and about the interior, what that looks like that we'll bring to you. And you'll tell us, whoa, Chanda, Jeannie, that's way too much. That's crazy. Don't do that. Or you'll say, yeah, that doesn't look like anything. That doesn't represent this, right? And we're gonna be somewhere in there, but maybe we'll start closer to the ones that, you know, you think you might like to see. You know, maybe you want us to start extreme, but give me thoughts about that. How about here? I'm talking about the humans too. It's a little clearer, but no, you're imagining like wall color, furniture, art, and everything in that space is saying something, right? And if you think about the exterior of the building, it's like all of the bricks and the tones and the patterns are all saying something, right? You could also.
This meeting is being recorded.
That's cool. Yeah. This one's kind of harder one. Yeah, go ahead.
These are really about having spaces for students to put their, but maybe. Up to the floor meant to be on the blank slate or the county of the. For your experience of each student. To be done with their own building rather than the building. Because the population's gonna change and evolve and many students all the time and it's a nice opportunity that not shown some parts of the school that can volunteer.
That's great. They can evolve and change and also be like. Very bold in their representation of the students who are here at that time, right? And make a change to that. Yeah.
But with intention, not.
Yeah. Yes, yes. with intent. Yes. Your work is important. We want to see it. Yeah.
I like the idea of, because as I'm looking at this and I'm thinking about the building on the MLK that is painted blue with all flowers on the outside.
Yeah.
I like the idea of the bold representation of the many cultures on the outside and on the inside, it's more muted so that it's a background to the students.
When you see it, you know what it is. You come into it, and then there's opportunity for students to kind of make their mark. Yeah, that's
Funny, because I guess I was feeling the exact opposite. Like, just thinking about like the exterior in my mind is more permanent. That's gonna be harder to do that evolving, and changing the folks that are there. So I'm like, oh, how about 30%? So you get like a sense that you're walking into someplace special, you're walking into something. But then like, once you get inside, it's full on 100%, you're seeing, and not necessarily that it's static, right? It has that opportunity to change, but that everything's there with intention. The color palettes, the art on the wall, the blank spaces for things to change is there with intention to.
the other class. Then where how much saturation. Identity. That's that.
Yeah,
Look at you.
I say it both ways, but but one part of interior and exterior that hopefully is reflected here is that there's some form of foundational truth. Talking about that root again. That's there like perpetuity, like that part never changes. And because that's the part that 5 generations from now, they have no.
Yeah, that's great. Some foundational parts are always there. Then there's room for expansion of that or change of that.
This meeting is being recorded.
So it's the idea of the storytelling, like I
Storytelling, yeah.
But it's the storytelling.
Yeah.
It's the, hey, what is that for? Oh, man, I'm glad you left. Can't leave the space without having a piece of it now when people say you become part of it.
I love that.
I think it should be instantly recognizable Jefferson High School.
Yeah.
The longest time, like, I use Jefferson as a neighborhood, but like, where is it? It's like hard to see. So it doesn't seem look like a school, different things. So I think it needs to have a unique book that represents the culture, the history, and values of the community. Part of it. And that people, it's recognizable.
Thank you. That's great. People.
Let
Look
me,
at Jefferson.
let me know on being bold, how bold.
Yeah.
that I can get. You really need a whole thing.
Okay.
And they need to show the greatness that Jefferson has. A lot of people don't know that. Former ambassador, purpose. Graduated Jefferson. Stuff like that, you know, he, all the things. All of these great people that have. Got their story.
Okay. Okay. There'll be a lot of pride in that for people.
People,
Yeah.
and law.
Yep.
And,
Yeah, you're scared of them.
Gonna go back to when I was talking about it on the culture and. I think high school get often divided into binary boys and girls, the teacher is a lot less. Binary and a lot more. It'd be nice to see that.
That's great.
Authors and.
Yes. Yeah, we definitely have some ideas about that. But yeah, non-binary people instead of just genders. Yeah, right. Yeah, good.
I just want to take back my 30% on the
Okay.
exterior because there's no not cultural choices, right? Like I was thinking like, well, it's not like you have a blank slate and then we can like kind of show cultural identity 30% of it. Like that blank slate is just some other culture. So it has to be, I think it has to be 100% everywhere, right? Intentional choices everywhere about what is here.
Yeah. That's great. There's no blank slate. It all represents
All
something.
represent something, and so you're either choosing it or letting it choose.
Yeah, and if you let it be chosen, then it's dominant culture. Which, just like we talked about or heard about in land acknowledgement, is the white supremacist culture that's based on stolen labor and stolen land. And we want to represent the culture of all of the folks who live there now.
best being.
Yes. We want people to learn. Yeah. All right. Well, if anyone has any last thoughts, I'd love to hear them. If you wrote anything down, we'll collect them. We'll happen to this. But this was really fun. This is a good conversation. So thank you for that. And we're going to definitely do it again. I'm going to bring this microphone over to Keisha so she can let everyone know what's coming up next. Because there will be to talk about coming, and there will also be some announcements of what other events are coming up this summer, like with the hood and GP and etc. Here you go, Keisha. So much. Okay, so this is the open portion of the meeting. We have conducted these exercises at two other events. One was yes, environment goes. And then we have the resident of Saturday. And so we wanted to wrap it up here at the facility because we really affect our community. So briefly describe the station. So and there were flyers on actually, yeah, on the first people will go correct deposit. But station one goes through the search criteria and desire visible with staff needs to evaluate sites that have already been there. Articulated on that first map there. So what we do is get a stretch of dots according to who you are, student, character, university, center. And then along each of the guiding principles or the criteria, we put a dot next to one that is both important to you. Okay. And then on this map, want to include take a look at the sites that were previously considered. And talk about on the map very nice. And on the, we do a little bit of site information on the front, on the back, it gives you some of the kind of implications on why it kind of came off the list or what. And then so review that information and then put a red dot on the ones that you think should like completely stop considering, or a green dot on ones that you think that we should keep examining. And then over here, scenarios of the day in the life of Jefferson. And so it shows the current state of Jefferson, and with a couple of profiles of people who exist in this world. So what are some opportunities, barriers to the current condition of Jefferson based upon these profiles? In scenario 2. Which is a pilot shows on the South Field with a couple of different students of the profile for inspiration. Opportunities and barriers. Making sure this scenario. So there's some conditions of Jeff. Colors on the South, a lot of it there. 3 is PSC is on the South lot. And then scenario 4 is the full athletic field. Okay? And if we've got ideas, this last map is to suggest other goals for the Tubman or for the Center for Black Student Excellence. Gold Star sticker for Tubman, Silver Star sticker for Center for Black Student Excellence, or in over here. So I invite you all to come over and take a look at this information, and then probably in like 20-30 minutes, we'll come back to kind of discuss. Okay? Oh, on the analyzed areas, we will prove that it was not here. So I'm gonna find it. Always. Well, they give me a color, that makes them a little tight. I'm not very smart. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You should back, real meetings. And I got it.
Wow. You never know. Yeah.
Calling out. So. Yeah, so like I grew up in Idaho. And I had it. Great. I was in the
Yes. Right, yeah. Like, that's.
It is the largest selection of for black holes. So there's the best chance. Yes, I agree. Really?
A lot of different, yeah, I mean, it's really fun.
It is big, and the radio on one side and two on the other. So there's plenty of space on the side. There's over there.
Yeah, I just. Well, it's in Palo. You know, it's like, I was feeling about. That's fine. I don't want to. That's why you don't. So,
Yeah, me too, actually. Thanks for
No, I put it all day. It'd be easier. Wow.
Oh, okay.
So that's,
I passed my hand right out. Yeah. That's what.
Like these things, I don't even have these. But.
I got it for something. That was, you know what? Did I? I'm 5 years old. You know, where I will. I'll read it. That's how and maybe I'll prepare some. Yeah. I did. I'm in the way to be bonded and. Like. Yeah, they just.
Not much. Wait, the mic's not on, right? We're not
I don't think that's on camera, so I don't know.
Right then. Tired, busy, and absolutely.
Really? It's all pictures.
Building, massive beams up in the 34.
Oh, really? Wow. Yeah.
I should have had a copy out while. I don't know. I'll probably just find the schedule and I'm gonna keep going. Again, keep going. But yeah, so
You know. Yeah. Yeah. But in like the like sound system.
I know where it is.
Yeah, yeah.
Wait, where is it?
Oh, no, it's on
Grandson. Belmont.
Oh. It's on.
Grandson.
That's on Belmont. Current side.
There's a nightclub. Yeah.
They're the Boston Openers.
Across the street from oh,
Oh, yeah.
yeah. That's
Yeah, this one's like catty corner, it's central building.
yeah, I know what that.
Yeah. So that, yeah.
Nice. Let us know when.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. How you been? Yeah.
I wasn't sure which one. Right over here. So I thought. That's No, but they're like sitting.
Here.
Yeah. That's right.
And board member Barry. Yeah, look great. Back outside.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, this call. That's like. How are you? Oh my God.
I'm not gonna be here.
They're going to just capture all of those and we can just go on after we finish that, right? Yes. Thank you very much. It was fun.
On the bike, huh? So travels on the bike. All right.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Have a good one.
Yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to touch base with you guys that are still here, to see if you have any questions. Or wanted to discuss any of the information on the tours. Going one. Going twice. No one has any questions or statements or feelings? Then we can just adjourn for the evening. Is that okay with everyone? I'm gonna pick the answer, yes. All right, well. No. All right.